Hey everyone, Jennifer Lee Chan here from NBC Sports Bay Area. It is Tuesday. Hard to keep track of days during the off season, but it's Tuesday and not a whole lot of updates for you from the 49ers. They signed a safety to a reserve future contract, and outside of that, it's been pretty quiet. I honestly am really shocked that they have not interviewed or announced interviews of more candidates for the defensive coordinator role. They signed safety Quindell Johnson to a reserve future contract. He played 9 games in 2023 for the Chicago Bears and was a member of the practice squad with the Rams before he was picked up by the Bears, and then again last season with the Rams. Outside of that, Detroit Lions signed Ronnie Bell to a reserve future contract. He was released by the 49ers, then put on the practice squad. So now the Detroit Lions are putting on their practice squad, probably as a punt returner. The 49ers obviously have Jacob Cowing. They have Ricky Pearsall, kickoff returns, Deebo Samuel potentially. So they don't need Ronnie Bell to do any return work. So they've got that covered. Also, there's Isaac Guerendo, who also can return. So the 49ers are really covered in the return game. Of course, they need to work on their special teams. No special teams coordinator interviews kind of have come up. And while I did kind of think that the 49ers might keep some of these under wraps, it's the coaches' agents that generally release the information to guys like Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport because it shows demand for their clients. So while I thought, oh, maybe the 49ers are just kind of keeping it under wraps, no, probably not. It's just there haven't been any interviews, which is kind of crazy. Now, as the playoffs kind of continue, they may interview more guys because they can't interview anyone while the playoffs are going on if that team is still in it. Robert Saleh is having his second interview with the Jacksonville Jags today, I think, which is Tuesday. So I honestly think if the Jags want him as their head coach, he would take a head coaching job over the defensive coordinator job. Um, I am just honestly shocked that they haven't announced any more interviews because even if Robert Saleh doesn't take that job and he goes back to be the defensive coordinator, I don't think he stays more than 1 year. He's going to go apply and be interviewed for head coaching jobs in 2026. So even if he does come back to the 49ers as a defensive coordinator in 2024, 2025, this coming year, if Robert Saleh does that, I think it's another one and done. So they had D'Amico Ryans, they had Steve Wilkes, they had Nick Sorensen, and then Robert Saleh. So that's 4 in 4 years. If Robert Saleh is a one and done, then that fifth year, 5 defensive coordinators in 5 years, I just don't think that's great for your team. That's why I didn't think that Robert Saleh would take the defensive coordinator position with the 49ers and that they wouldn't want him generally. But it looks like they're putting kind of all their hopes in Robert Saleh not taking it. Now, if Robert Saleh doesn't take the job, I can see them putting Brandon Staley in that position as well. I know John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan have a ton of respect for him. They talked to him at different meetings, and when the Niners and the Chargers had joint practices in Irvine at the Chargers facility, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan walked away from those 4 days of work together thinking, wow, Brandon Staley is such an intelligent guy. They really liked him. They had a ton of respect for his football IQ. So that's why they wanted to bring him into the building when he was no longer a head coach. So it could be that he ends up being the defensive coordinator, but I don't know why they wouldn't have done that last year. Anyways, we already know that Deommodore Lenoir has spoken so highly of him, said he's a genius, has really helped his play. And look at Deommodore Lenoir, huge $90 million contract, staying with the Niners for the long haul. So, I mean, he has helped Deommodore Lenoir get paid, play better. No Pro Bowl, no AP, but I think that's in his future. More interceptions, more pass breakups. I know he had them, but the 49ers just did not generate takeaways in the second half of the season. And that is a huge thing that, it's always, what have you done for me lately? So while Lamar Jackson has played lights out the entire season, that last game with all the turnovers, granted, his guys didn't help him with the drops, but honestly, the turnovers and I just don't think he's going to be voted MVP. I think Josh Allen should. I mean, you look at the the most recent play from each player, and Josh Allen really kind of carried his team to the an AFC Championship game. So Those are just kind of my thoughts on that. I'm Buffalo all the way. I hope they make it to the Super Bowl. I hope they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And on the other side, I hope it's Washington. I mean, Washington, what a story. And Adam Peters has been a great guy. He's been fun to cover when he was with the 49ers. Dan Quinn is a guy who has a lot of 49ers history. And if you look at the Commanders roster, Jeremy McNichols, who used to be a running back for the 49ers back in the day, a couple other guys. So Washington Commanders all the way and Buffalo Bills. That's my dream scenario for the Super Bowl at this point. Of course, it was, I think, Detroit before. But, anyways, um, yeah, the turnovers. Jared Goff, good Lord. The Lions with a ton of turnovers, and basically every team that won did not turn the ball over. So the 49ers need to get back to their turnover takeaway ways. And part of that is going to be getting pressure on the quarterback. So while I think everybody's screaming and yelling for offensive line to be drafted, I honestly think they need to go defense. Think they need to go especially defensive line. They've got the guys lined up for cornerback, right? They've got Renardo Green and Diamond Lenore. At safety, they have Jair Brown and they have Malik Mustafa. No word on anything about Dre Greenlaw or Talanoa Hufanga yet. Fred Warner is going to be there. They do love D Winters, so they kind of have the back seven lined up, right? Maybe, at nickel, there's maybe a little question there, but maybe they draft somebody. But the front four, the defensive line, really has to get pressure because the pressure is what generates the takeaways. Not only is it pressure on the quarterback himself as a runner or, however the run defense as well, but getting pressure on the quarterback causes inaccurate throws, which leads to takeaways. So all of it together needs to be done. I think they have a decent offensive line, the 49ers do, as of right now, that going into 2025. I don't think they re-sign Aaron Banks just because looking at how they've been able to get by decently with good, kind of under the radar offensive linemen. I don't think they draft an offensive lineman in the first two rounds. You look at where they found Dominic Pooney in the third and how he played and how he contributed. I think that's kind of what their method is in regards to offensive linemen. They want to get the playmakers. They want to get guys like Nick Bosa, high picks. They want to get guys that are like Ricky Pearsall, who I think will be a game changer when he gets to his next year with a full offseason of work. So I think that's what kind of the 49ers MO is, and we'll see as we go along. That's all I have for you today, and be back with more updates as soon as possible. You guys have a good afternoon.